Senator Steve Daines of Montana, Republican, sits on the Senate Energy Committee, Senate Finance Committee. Crucial player in the nation's capital. Senator, very good to have you. What was President Zelenskyy asking for, first off?
Well, Neil, I've been on a lot of Zoom calls. This was one I'll never forget. Zelenskyy spoke from the heart. You've seen the images already. He had a military green T-shirt on, this Ukraine flag. There was no script. He spoke from the heart. He referred to the United States as the most powerful and the biggest hope. He talked about Russian soldiers, these 18 to 20-year-olds that they've captured. He says they're young, they're afraid, they're shocked they ended up in Ukraine. He said that one Ukraine soldier equals 5 to 10 Russian soldiers. He talked about how they're targeting 6 nuclear sites. He says these are devils that are doing this, referring to the Russians. He said if they were to cause one of those to explode or to melt down, it would be an environmental catastrophe for Europe. But here's what he asked for. He said he supported the oil sanctions to ban the Russian oil. He says they need more planes, they need more drones. They need even tougher sanctions. He asked specifically on Visa and MasterCard, they'd be suspended in Russia. And he also asked to close the skies over Russia as well. And he said this, he says, Lithuania and Poland are next if we don't stop Russia now.
You know, that had been his argument as recently as yesterday to advocate for NATO, United States, implementing a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Did that come up again?
The no-fly zone, shutting down the skies came up. And Neil, I mean, that's a real concern because that is an escalation moment. And so we've got to proceed here with standing firmly with the Ukrainian people. And I was very heartened to see Democrats and Republicans in the Senate and the House, by the way, were on this call today. So we're unified in our support for Ukraine. We need to pass this $10 billion relief package that will have humanitarian aid, but it'll also have about half of it will be military aid. They need more force on the ground. But to shut down the skies escalates it to a point here where we risk going to the next level of a war that we do not want to go to as it relates to a world war.
So you talked about unanimous agreement on upping the sanctions and the ante against Russia, but was there similarly, Senator, unanimous agreement on this no-fly zone matter?
I didn't have a chance to go back and forth with my colleagues there, but I think generally there's a real concern about that. But I'll tell you, I want to make one other important point here, Neil, that I wish there was unanimous support on both sides of the aisle for expanding U.S. energy production. We're getting behind shutting down the Russian oil. But keep in mind, why isn't President Biden and our Democrat colleagues saying, let's build the Keystone Pipeline, let's increase U.S. oil production, let's make sure we don't have some of these crazy ideologues in the Biden administration want to shut down financing for the oil and gas industry. The reason we are here where we're at this moment in terms of Russia and Putin invading Ukraine, it goes right back to the first day Biden was sworn in, shuts the Keystone Pipeline down, stops new oil and gas leases on federal lands. And then he gives a green light to Putin for the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The Ukrainians were pleading. They were in my office, Neil, in September. A group from Odessa and former members of parliament were pleading with me to convince the president to shut down Nord Stream 2 then. And that's one thing that Zelenskyy did mention.
And that did not happen, to your point, Senator, but if you don't mind, this Odessa referred to a key port city in Ukraine that might or might not be under Russian control now. But you were touching on President Zelenskyy and barring, getting air support. He did call for more lethal aid. He also called, for Visa and some of these other financial concerns to cut off all ties with the region, with Russia in particular. What else was he asking for?
Well, it was close the skies, more planes, more drones, more sanctions, shutting down the oil. I was feverishly writing down kind of his ask list. Yeah. So I think that really encapsulates the basic ask that he had in the United States. But I will tell you this: it was much of gratitude to the United States for standing firm with the people of Ukraine. And I'll tell you, just heartening. I know we have our disagreements back in Washington, but it was nice to see both sides of the aisle standing firmly with Ukraine, and that's a strong message to send not only to President Zelenskyy and the Ukrainian people, but also to Vladimir Putin.
How many senators, if you can indulge that, were in on this call? All 100, or can you tell?
There were so many people on the call. I just looked at the participant logo on the bottom of the Zoom call. It was like 285, Neil. And when you have that many on a call, you can't see everybody the way that Zoom works, who's on the call. But
No, they're all increasingly tiny little boxes, aren't they? Each one gets to be tinier and tinier. But that says a lot about the interest in this. I'm wondering where you see it going, Senator. We're getting word, as you know, that the Russians might have torpedoed, no pun intended, these humanitarian gestures that were made to open up a path for Ukrainians who want to leave and for foreign aid to get in. I don't know if that can be regrouped and redone, but it doesn't look good. Your thoughts?
Well, this is why Zelenskyy referred to the Russians as devils. And when the Russians are actually going after these nuclear facilities, it's no wonder they're also going to go after humanitarian supplies. These are war crimes being committed before our very eyes. I was disappointed to see some of my colleagues and even President Biden wondering, are these war crimes? These are war crimes, Neil. Let's be very, very clear what's going on. This is evil manifest before our very eyes, and a reminder the world's a very dangerous place, and we have got to get back on the track of national security and energy security. This battle that we're seeing, this war with Russia and Ukraine, this is not going to end in the next several months. This is a long-term battle we face in the world with our adversaries, and that's why it's so important. I want to see both sides of the aisle calling for American energy dominance. It is absolutely one of the great weapons we can use to keep the world safe and to ensure that we have our economy protected and the world protected. Because I'll tell you what, when they stop the Russian oil coming in, Russian oil is going to could go to 150 bucks to 180 bucks a barrel. We could see $7 to $8 a gallon gasoline. And I'll tell you what, it's a shame that Barack Obama started shutting down the Keystone Pipeline and American energy. We've got to get rid of these woke climate change ideologues like John Kerry, who's talking about climate change being a much bigger threat than what's going on right now in the Ukraine. And that is why it's important here that we have a shift in our overall strategy for this nation going forward. We need global American energy dominance. It's very dangerous to not have that. Remember, Russia is one of the leading oil producers in the world, and we've got to change this course.
Senator Steve Daines, thank you very, very much. The Montana Republican in on that phone call with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy.